shows that Christians who live in Israel have a much different perspective on the Jewish state than U.S. evangelicals. The comprehensive study cited statistics from 2013 that showed 82% of white evangelicals said God gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people. However, only 19% of Christians born, raised, and living in Israel think the same. The survey shows many areas of disagreement, from the two-state solution for peace to the expansion of Jewish settlements. So what explains the difference in opinion? CBN Chief International Correspondent Gary Lane joins us now for more. And Gary, you have met with a lot of Christians in Israel. What is your take on all of this?
Well, Heather, my take is that this survey is actually correct. These Christians in Israel have been influenced by politics. They've also been influenced by a different life experience than what many American Christians have experienced here in the U.S. So their experience, half a world away, is much different than ours. And how is that experience shaping their views? Well, let me give you an example. I had met a man once in Israel who told me, the Israelis took my family's land away from me as they built this wall separating the West Bank from Israel, and we didn't receive any compensation. So that greatly affected his view, and I got into a discussion with him about his Christianity and his feeling about Israel, and if the Jews were God's chosen people and so forth, and he didn't believe that at all. He believed that the land belonged to the Palestinians. He was a Palestinian. He didn't believe that God had given it to Israel at all. So basically, Christians in Israel are more sympathetic to Palestinians and maybe not so hard line as U.S. evangelicals. Well, I would say most of the Christians in Israel are Palestinian or are of Arab descent, and they just have a different view. When you look at the Bible, for example, many of them will ignore the Old Testament, and they do that and support or accept the New Testament, but they ignore the Old because they'll say, well, that's a history book for the Jews. It's all about the Jews. It has nothing to do with us as Palestinians. And I said, yes, but it has to do with your Christian heritage, which our Savior was a Jew. And many of them will even disagree with you on that. Some have actually told me Abraham and Moses were Palestinian. And so there's just a different view there. And I think a lot of it has to do with their political experience, where they live, and what they've been taught in their churches. All right. And there are, of course, Messianic Jews, evangelicals in Israel, a small amount. What do you know about their views and how they line up? The Messianics, because they are Jewish and not from an Arab background, are very similar to us as American evangelicals in our beliefs. And they do believe that the land was given to the Jews, God gave it to them, and the Jews are God's chosen people. Of course, as you were mentioning, most Israeli Christians are of Arabic background. Yes. Does that explain a lot of this? Well, it explains a lot, but I think politics explains a lot, because many of these people are fearful. They live in an area where they're caught between a rock and a hard place. If they support Israel too much, then they are bashed by other Arabs or other Palestinians. They may even be threatened. If they go the other way, then they have Israel against them. So it's a very tough position to be in as a Christian in Israel, also in the West Bank and Gaza. A tough place to live. Well, Gary Lane, thanks for your insights. We need to pray for them, Heather. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.